Dad, can you help me with this?
When was the last time you said that or heard it? Here's the uncomfortable truth. We've spent the last 60 years systematically engineering fathers out of existence, not physically, though single motherhood rates have tripled since 1960. No, I'm talking about something far more sinister. We've made them psychologically obsolete. Yet the architect of this social experiment, it wasn't feminism, it wasn't the sexual revolution, it was something Carl Jung predicted almost a century ago, and we're only now seeing the catastrophic results. A generation feels more lost than ever. A young men checking out of society, and a women who are way more anxious than ever before. This is how we built a world that doesn't need fathers, and why bringing them back won't fix any of it. But first, let's go back to where this all started. Jung didn't just study the mind, he studied the scaffolding beneath consciousness, the blueprints humanity has been running on for 200,000 years. He called them archetypes, and the father is one of the big ones. But here's what most people get wrong. The archetypal father isn't your biological dad. He's not the guy who taught you to ride a bike or forgot your birthday. The father archetype is a psychological function. He's the voice that says, here's the boundary, this is the structure, this is what it means to grow up. The father is law, order, and discipline. He's the thing that stands between chaos and civilization, between the boy and the man, between the child's infinite wants and the adult's finite reality. Jung said every psyche needs this, not as oppression, but as orientation. Without it, you get what he called puer aeternus, which means the eternal child, someone who never grows up because they were never shown how. Sound familiar? Look around. We're drowning in 40-year-old adolescence. Except the scariest part only happens when society kills the father archetype. Carl Jung called it the devouring mother. And brother, are we living in her belly right now? The mother archetype is the opposite energy. Where father is structure, mother is comfort. Where father says, face the storm, mother says, stay inside where it's warm. Don't get me wrong, both are necessary. This isn't about choosing sides. But when the father disappears, the mother doesn't just fill the void, she metastasizes. Jung was obsessed with this because he saw it in his patients. Men in their 30s and 40s, still living with their mothers, unable to commit, unable to struggle, unable to become. They were safe, comfortable, and completely, utterly stuck. He called it the mother complex. But it's not about your actual mum. It's about a world that mothers you into paralysis. Just look at what we've built. Safe spaces, trigger warnings, helicopter parenting, algorithms that only show you what you already like, jobs that promise unlimited PTO and wellness days. We've turned society into a padded room. Everything is designed to protect you from discomfort, from failure, from the cold, hard edges of reality that force you to grow. That's the mother swallowing the world. Jung said this doesn't produce happy people, it produces neurotic ones, because deep down your psyche knows it needs the father, it needs the challenge, the struggle, the no. When you don't get it externally, you create it internally, through anxiety, depression, and self-sabotage. Your unconscious mind manufactures the suffering your conscious life is too comfortable to provide. That's why the most privileged generation in human history is also the most medicated. But it gets even darker, because we didn't just remove the father from the family, we removed him from everything. Let me show you the blueprint of how we did this. We started by making father a dirty word. Patriarchy became synonymous with oppression. Authority became synonymous with tyranny. Every father figure in culture, teachers, coaches, bosses, clerics, went from respected to suspected. And listen, some of that was necessary. Real abuse needed to be called out. But we didn't stop at accountability. We burned the whole concept to the ground. Then we rebuilt the economy so families needed 2 incomes. Fathers couldn't be the provider anymore, not by choice, but by design. The average house now costs 8 times the median income, whereas in 1960, it was 2 times. We made it economically impossible for the father to fulfill his archetypal role, and when he couldn't provide structure through presence, we told him he was obsolete, because in the final step, we replaced him with screens. Every function the father served, we outsourced it. Need discipline? There's an app. Need direction? There's an algorithm. Need to learn something hard? There's a YouTube tutorial. Need meaning? There's a streaming service. We commodified the Father's wisdom and sold it back to you in bite-sized, frictionless pieces. But here's what Jung would tell you. Wisdom without relationship is just information, and information doesn't transform you. Struggle does. Confrontation does. Having someone look you in the eye and say, "You're capable of more than this," that does, and you can't get that from a screen. So what happened? Young men lost their initiation. In every traditional culture, there's a rite of passage, a moment where the fathers take the boys away from the mothers and put them through hell, vision quests, walkabouts, and trials. It's not cruelty, it's alchemy. You go in as a child, you come out as a man. We don't do that anymore. We have college orientation and HR onboarding. And for young women, they lost something too. Jung said women also need the father archetype, not as a romantic partner, but as the animus, the internal masculine that helps them navigate the world with agency and confidence. Without it, they're caught between two impossible choices. Be the mother, caretaking everyone and sacrificing yourself, or be the father, out-masculinizing men and exhausting yourself. Of course, neither works. Both burn you out. And society without the father archetype becomes a civilization of teenagers. We want freedom without responsibility, rights without duties, expression without consequence. We want daddy to go away, but we also want daddy to pay for everything. Now here's where Jung gets really interesting. He said that whatever you reject doesn't disappear. It goes into the shadow, the dark basement of your psyche where all the disowned parts of yourself live. And when the father archetype gets shoved into the collective shadow, he comes back twisted. Think about it. We rejected traditional masculine authority and got Andrew Tate. We rejected religious patriarchy and got cult-like political movements. We rejected fathers in the home and got the state as the ultimate daddy, telling you what to eat, what to think, what to say. The father always returns, but when he comes back through the shadow, he's not wise, he's tyrannical. Jung called this enantiodromia, the tendency of things to become their opposite when pushed to an extreme. We tried to create a world without fathers. Instead, we created a world desperate for one, and desperation makes you accept counterfeits. That's why authoritarianism is rising. That's why young people are hungry for someone, anyone, to tell them what to do, who to be, and what it all means. We starved them of the father, and now they'll eat whatever fills that hole. Jung said the outer world is just a mirror of the inner one. The reason we destroyed the external father is that we first destroyed the internal one. Every person has an inner father, the part of you that says, get up, do the hard thing, keep your word, finish what you started. We killed that voice. We called it toxic, oppressive, unrealistic. And without that internal father, you're just a bundle of impulses and feelings with no one at the wheel. You become a slave to your moods, your cravings, and your fears. You become a child, and a child can't build a life. A child can only consume one. So here's the part everyone wants to skip to. How do we fix this? And here's the truth you're not going to like. We can't, at least not in the way you think. You can't just bring back the father archetype like it's a discontinued product. You can't legislate fatherhood. You can't guilt-trip men into being dads. You can't reverse 60 years of cultural, economic, and technological change with a few podcasts and think pieces. The world that needed fathers is the world of farms and factories, the world of staying in one town your whole life, the world of clear roles and stable structures, except that world is gone. And here's the thing Jung understood that most people don't. Archetypes don't die, they evolve. The father we need now isn't the one from 1950. That guy's not coming back. The economy won't allow it, the culture won't support it, and honestly, a lot of you wouldn't even want it. What we need is a new integration of the father archetype, not the authoritarian patriarch, not the absent workaholic, but something Jung called the integrated masculine, the father as conscious guide rather than unconscious tyrant. Someone who provides structure without suffocation, challenge without cruelty, direction without domination. And that can only happen individually, because society's not going to hand you a father. The culture's not going to initiate you. You have to do it yourself. You have to become your own father. So let me leave you with this. Maybe we needed to build a world without fathers. Maybe the old father archetype had to die. Maybe he was too rigid, too authoritarian, too unconscious. Maybe we had to kill him so something better could be born. Jung called this the death and rebirth of the self. You have to destroy the old king before the new one can take the throne. The problem is, we're stuck in the in-between. The old father is dead, but the new one hasn't arrived yet. And that's where you come in. Because here's the most controversial thing I'll say in this entire video. The next great father figure won't be a man. Jung's whole point was that these are psychological functions, not biological destinies. The father energy, discipline, structure, wisdom, initiation that can come from anywhere. A woman, a mentor, a community, even from inside yourself. The future doesn't need more biological dads going through the motions. It needs people. Anyone willing to stand up and say, here's the line, here's the challenge, here's what's required of you. It needs you to stop waiting for someone to father you and start fathering yourself. And maybe, just maybe, once you've done that, you'll be able to offer it to someone else. That's how the archetype returns, not from the top down, but from the inside out. So yeah, we built a world that doesn't need